Hello everybody, welcome once again to the Joy of Trucking. We're having a very joyful day here today, broken down on the side of the road. I'm in the steep hill country just east of Charleston, West Virginia. I got a pretty heavy load here, 44,000 pounds. And I was climbing a hill for a couple of miles. It was down to like 30 miles an hour with the four ways going and cars passing me like crazy. All of a sudden a bunch of lights came on the dashboard, warning lights and alarms going off and stuff. I looked at the temperature gauge and it was climbing way past what's normal, and I knew I had an overheating problem, which I've seen happen to other trucks and vehicles climbing steep hills like this, so I knew I had to pull over right away. Luckily there was room on the shoulder. I just come up the crest of the hill. I pulled off the road as much as I could and shut the engine down right away. And steam started coming up from under the hood. Oh boy. So I remember what happened with my trainer when I was out with my trainer for 3 weeks. We had a problem on the highway, and he taught me a lot of really good things I want to pass on to you. So the first thing you want to do, get your four-way flashers going. Do not open the driver's side door. Someone will take it off and you will be seriously injured to boot. Go out the passenger side door. And the first thing you want to do is grab your triangles and set them up behind you so that people are more aware that you're here, and they got to avoid you. They got to like not hit you. That would be really bad. And we keep those triangles in their box on the passenger side, so there's no reason to go on the driver's side of the truck when you're this close to the highway traffic. So keep them in that cubby on the passenger side under the bunk, okay? Once those are set up, I managed to pop the hood and assess the damage. I noticed right away the coolant reservoir was completely empty, and I know it was full because I checked it this morning on my pre-trip only 3 hours before. So I started looking for a leak, and I noticed some of the engine compartment was wet on the passenger side, so somehow it escaped into there. The closer I looked, I noticed the wet area was on the passenger side of the actual engine, and that's where a lot of steam was coming off. And then I found a hose, one of those blue hoses. There's actually two that come in, so I think it might be going to the heater element in the dashboard, because it seemed to go through the firewall, but where one of them attached to the engine was disconnected. So I don't know if the fitting broke, melted, came unscrewed. Looks to me like it just snapped clean off, and away went all the coolant. So it's important you shut down as soon as possible when you get a warning light like that and you see your temperatures going up, because the engine will overheat very fast, especially when it's working that hard coming up a hill like that. I had a thought for a split second, oh, if I could just coast downhill for a while, it might cool off if it was just a basic overheating problem. But then I thought, nope, you better pull over right away and shut it down. It could be something far more serious. If you leave that engine running, even idling, you will cause permanent damage, and it's very expensive. So now the next step was to send a message on the tablet to the company. There are form messages on there, pre-written or whatever, with a bunch of boxes you check and then you send it. So the message you're looking for there is over-the-road maintenance. And when you open that up, it says truck, you know, is it the tire? Is it do you need periodic maintenance? There's a bunch of boxes, and then you check the one you want. It asks about the trailer, if you're loaded, if the problem is with the trailer, so you check those boxes, and then at the bottom give a description. So I said broken coolant hose, coolant all gone, and sent the message. And then I followed it up with a phone call to the company. First of all, you want to make sure they got the message, so you're not sitting here and 3 hours later, you know, they haven't even heard from you. And you want to let them know that your delivery appointment is going to have to be adjusted, because obviously this load is not going to arrive at 3 o'clock this afternoon in North Carolina. It all depends on how long this repair takes. And you want to make sure that somebody's on the job getting you the repair crew. So what happens next, because I'm on the side of the road and I can't go to a service station, the company will have to find a service station nearby with a mobile unit. They will dispatch the unit to come here. and they'll have to fix the problem. Hopefully they have enough parts and fluids and so on to get the job done. And then you will get a confirmation message on your tablet saying we have authorized your over-the-road maintenance, stand by. The next message you get says your over-the-road maintenance vendor has been contacted. You get a phone number, a contact name, and an ETA as to when they're going to get here. So if they don't get here, you know, within that amount of time, you can call them up and say, you know, where are you, or are you having trouble finding me maybe? It's important that you know your location so you can relay that as well. The highway you're on, which direction you're pointed, what mile marker you're at, what's the nearest town, all that stuff is important to know. So that all has to be included on your request for maintenance. So here I sit. Looks like it'll be another hour, hour and a half before anybody gets to me. And then we'll see how quickly they can repair the situation. So I'll let you know how it's turning out. I'll keep you posted. There will be more videos. Stand by. Alright, as promised, here's part 2 of the breakdown story. My trusty steed, Kenny Riggs, sitting by the side of I-64. Beautiful mountains of West Virginia. You notice I was lucky enough to get to a spot with a paved shoulder before I shut it down. There's not much room up ahead there, so this is probably the best spot. But look how close I am to the road. That's why you want to avoid getting out that driver's side door. It's pretty dangerous. So as I said, there was steam coming out from the engine compartment. When I opened the hood, I noticed liquid on the ground here. Took a look in here. I see things look wet. Whereas here it's dry and very dirty. Down here it's all wet, like it's been washed with something, like pressure washed almost. And the coolant reservoir was right up to here this morning. Now it's completely empty. So the next thing you do is inspect the hoses, like check all the hoses and connections and everything to see where it leaked, or maybe something burst, like these rubber tubes. They'll get a bulge and just explode. And then I see this. See this hose hanging loose? The second hose here goes right into the engine block, and above it is an opening. So that's where this other hose was attached, and now it's come out. It looks to me like these hoses go up here into the firewall. So that could be for your heating and defroster. That's my assessment. Still waiting for the mechanic to show up, and he'll have a look at it. Maybe he'll find something else. In the meantime, I'm just going to enjoy the scenery, have some lunch, keep my eye on the tablet for any messages, any other information that might be coming, and make sure I stay in touch with my fleet manager, let him know what's going on. More to come. Thank you for watching. All right, we're back again with the conclusion of the breakdown story. It was a total of 5.5 hours downtime, sitting there next to the road with traffic zipping by, shaking the truck like a windstorm. I called the contractor who was supposed to come out and fix the truck after more than an hour sitting there, just to see what the ETA might be, and they had the wrong highway. Somehow something got written down wrong. So luckily I gave them the right location where I was, which didn't really make a difference on their ETA because the guy was off somewhere else helping somebody else for a while. So it was about 3 hours before they showed up, and he got right to work on it. He had the fitting, because they are used to this kind of thing happening, especially in that area with all those hills to climb, a lot of engines overheating and busting plastic fittings, I guess. But then he needed a different hose to connect it to that fitting. So he had to take off and go find a hose and come back and fix it. And then we poured 6 gallons of coolant into the reservoir, and of course once I started the engine, some of it circulated, and he was topping it up, but altogether it was 6 gallons, and he gave me an extra one because he said probably somewhere down the road it might drop a little bit more as, you know, air comes out of the plumbing and it sucks a little more out of the reservoir. So I did actually put in the 7th gallon later on, actually not much later on after I got started. So something to note here, the fitting that broke is plastic. It's a high temperature situation. I mean, you look at the temperature gauge, it climbs over 200 degrees, and when you climb in a hill it gets hotter and hotter. So that fitting snapped right off. He had to get the piece, the threaded part, out of the hole in the engine block and then put the new section together, but he used a brass piece. And then he showed me, if you remember in the video, there were 2 openings there. The lower one still had a hose attached, and the broken part was the one above. He pointed out that the broken, the one below was already a brass fitting. So this had happened before, or somebody had changed the part knowing this might happen. I'm not sure, but it had already been switched out from the plastic one. And then he was telling me that the plastic fittings you can't even get anymore. So obviously somebody learned that these things don't last very long. And that's probably why he carries a bunch of the brass fittings, because he knows it's going to be a recurring problem. So take a look at that if you're driving a T680. Look on the passenger side of the engine block toward the rear. You'll see where the hoses go in, and you can trace them up to the firewall. But check out those fittings and see if they're brass or plastic. If they're plastic, they're going to go. This truck is a 2019, and so 2 or 3 years after manufacture, the things will fail. So that's about all I have to say about the breakdown situation. Got back on the road after 5.5 hours. Of course, the load was late, but I communicated with the office, and it was a drop trailer. It wasn't a live unload appointment or anything like that, so it was just going to sit in their yard until they got around to it. It wasn't a problem, but I did decide to go ahead and try and make the delivery anyway. I got there at 8:30 at night. And usually I like to shut down around 7, so I still get a spot at the truck stop or a rest stop or something like that for the night. They start filling up from 7 o'clock on. The trucks are pouring in, taking up all the spaces. But I felt the need to get it done, and my 70-hour clock was starting to run out. I didn't want this delivery hanging over me the next morning. So an important point to note there, when you're stopped like that, it's a breakdown, you don't know how long it's going to be, go off duty. And after 2 hours, it'll split the clock. Now, you don't necessarily have to take that split. You can still just run to the end of your regular shift. But if things are, you know, crucial and you want to try and catch up or make up the time that you lost, splitting the clock still allows you to run later. You know, the 2 hours or more that you sat there doesn't count against you and eat up your 14-hour clock for the day. So I did remember to do that after an hour or so of sitting there, because I started wondering just how long it would be. So I was still able to get through that day. All right, I hope you learned from this. A lot of things came up that were new. A lot of things that I learned from my trainer that came in pretty handy. So all good stuff. Every day, every situation is an opportunity to learn something. So I hope you got something out of this. If you did, give me a old thumbs up, and let's see some comments below. I'd like to know what you thought of all this, and maybe you had similar experiences you could share with other people. All right, hit that subscribe button, and the notification bell will let you know when we've got more stuff coming along. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Have a good one, and I'll see you out there on the road.